Let me check this out. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. The book says كتاب العلم. كتاب العلم. تأليف الحافظ أبي خيثمة زهير بن حرب النسائي، المتوفى سنة 234 من الهجرة النبوية، المولود سنة 160، المتوفى سنة 234. حققه وقدم له وخرج أحاديثه وعلق عليه محمد ناصر الدين الألباني رحمه الله. الطبعة الشرعية الوحيدة مكتبة المعارف للنشر والتوزيع. طيب. The book is called كتاب العلم, the treatise of knowledge, the book of knowledge, by the Hafiz, Hadith Grandmaster, Abu Khaythama Zuhair ibn Harb. He was born in the year 160 and died in the year 234. He died in the year 234, a few years before the death of Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, and obviously many years before the death of Imam al-Bukhari, and also the death of Imam Muslim, and those other illustrious Imams of the 3rd century, the golden era. So this is Kitab al-Ilm, the book of knowledge, and as you can see, it's written by a very early scholar, way before Khatib Baghdadi, Ibn Abdul Barr, Ibn Jama'ah, way before Uthaymin bin Baz, way back in the day of the 3rd century, all right? Alhamdulillah, we started the explanation and the commentary of this book maybe close to a year ago. And inshallah ta'ala, we will finish the series and finish the explanation of the book. I believe we got to maybe halfway through the book. Walillah alhamd. And as we have explained, many very important athar from the Salaf al-Salih regarding ilm in this book. And there are, of course, many authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ regarding ilm in this book. So that's the book that you should have in your library as a student of knowledge and as a hadith disciple for several reasons. One of the reasons is this a very old book from the grandfathers, Kitab al-Ilm of Abu Khaythama Zuhair ibn Harb. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Inshallah, we'll try to take the first question. Bihawlillahi ta'ala.
J.A. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. How should we dispose fabric that have verses of the Quran written on it as the 3 coats? This fabric was in the blood and got damaged by was in the basement and got damaged by blood.
Question from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. With regards to disposing fabric that has the name of Allah upon it. It was destroyed, it was damaged, and now we wish to discard it. What do we do? May Allah bless you. With regards to anything that has Allah's name on it, one of Allah's names or attributes, any verses from the Quran, anything sacred and holy, whether it is fabric or paper, etc., then the ulama of Islam, they say it should be burnt. It should be burnt and then discarded. Some of them say that ripping it or tearing it is insufficient, whereas there could be small pieces or fragments which still have some of Allah's name, or maybe a piece that has Allah's name or attribute of Allah on it, or verse of the Quran. However, if a person can shred it properly, as we have professional shredders that totally mince it up and the letters and the writing is totally indistinguishable, then that's fine as well, and it doesn't necessarily have to be burnt. Whereas obviously shredding something sometimes is far easier than burning it. What's important is to totally take it away from what it looks like on paper and then discard it afterwards. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
T.M. Stoke-on-Trent, England. What's the ruling on being a corporate slave?
Question is from England. What's the rule on being a corporate slave? Allahumma musta'an. the answer that I give, what good could it be? What am I a slave of? What are we slaves of? The dollar bill, the pound, the euro, TV, sports, brand names, and the list goes on. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. At the end of the day, a Muslim is to work, and a Muslim is to seek the halal provision for him and his family, or herself and her children, her family. You save what you need to save. You spend what you need to spend. You eat from what you need to eat from. You spend in Allah's cause. You don't hoard things unnecessarily. And if you are going to save something, let it be saved for the right reason, with the proper intention. With the zakah, with the sadaqah, with the will being there, and with you being generous with your wealth. And know for sure that you're not going to make any money unless Allah had willed and decreed it for you, no matter how hard you work. Allah Azza wa Jal is going to make it easy and simple for you to get what is written for you. So therefore, ittaqullaha aw fattaqullaha wa ajmilu fit talab. The Prophet ﷺ says, fear Allah and be moderate in working. Don't be lazy and lethargic, but don't be a slave of the dunya, whether it's corporate, blue collar, white collar, or whatever it is. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
MK, Germany, Berlin. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah bless you with 4 lives. I am 25 and failed university and very poor. Alhamdulillah. How am I going to get married? I can't choose sometimes. Need a wife.
Tayyib. Question comes from Berlin, Germany. How can I get married? I failed university. I'm 25 years old, so on and so forth. University is not the thing which is going to allow you to get married. No matter what stipulations the people make and put up, and no matter what they consider to be wealthy or rich or successful or financially stable or responsible, it doesn't mean that they can prevent what Allah has written for you. What's important is, my advice is to make a great deal of dua for Allah to make you patient. And in the meantime, fast, seek ilm, stay busy. Ask Allah to give you a righteous wife, a suitable wife. Ask Allah to make it easy for you to lower your gaze and stay chaste. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make you patient upon the fitna of not being married. Alhamdulillah, at 25, you're still young. If you can go back to another school, get another degree, or go to some type of trade school, or some other profession or skill, and work and save money and earn a living, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, the woman or the women who are decreed for you, they will find you. They will find you. What's important is work on yourself. Focus on yourself. And the process of looking for a wife, or if you don't look anymore, work and focus on yourself. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, people will notice that. And they will see that you're doing the right thing, and that you're a good Muslim and a good brother and good character. And inshallah, they will come towards you. And don't ever forget, just like you're looking for a wife, there are women who are looking for husbands. Just like you need a woman in a permissible way, there's a woman out there who needs a man in a permissible way. So focus on boosting yourself up and padding your stacks, or your stats. Making yourself a good brother, financially this, like that, dressed like. Get yourself together, and inshallah, the woman will find you. May Allah bless you.
J.A. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Assalamu alaikum. The famous statement, I believe, from a scholar saying, if a companion of the Prophet ﷺ was resurrected, he wouldn't recognize anyone as Muslim except for the direction they pray. What is your view on this statement, and would this be applicable to dress code attitudes in Saudi Arabia that the Muslims in the West force upon others calling to Salafiyah?
Question from Philadelphia once more. With regards to a statement that I heard a scholar saying, that if one of the companions of the Messenger of Allah was resurrected, he wouldn't recognize anyone today, those who are Muslims, except because of the direction in which they pray. Except because of the direction in which they pray, right? What is your view on this statement? And does this apply to Saudi Arabia and people imposing Salafiyah upon others, so on and so forth? Allahu Alam, this specific statement, I've never heard this before, but there are athar of some of the Sahaba and some of the Tabi'een regarding the things that they would recognize if they were alive and if they were living. The things that they wouldn't recognize and the things that they would recognize, such as the prayer being the only thing that they would recognize. وَقَدْ ضِيَّعَتْ, and it has been wasted. What narration says, it has already been wasted. It's something very scary. These statements were made 1200, 1300 years ago. In the time of the Tabi'een, in the time of the last few remaining companions, these statements were made. Anas radiallahu anhu says, you people do sins more minute than a strand of hair. And we used to consider them to be major sins in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. That's in the time of the Salaf. So what about 2019? So these are real statements. They're scary statements, but they're not absolute statements. There are hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ which aren't absolute. There are hadiths of the Prophet that are understood in a light, let alone a statement of a companion or a tabi'i or a scholar, so on and so forth. So what's meant by this statement is that the sunnah has become very strange. The people have become very far and remote from the practice of the religion, and how we practice the deen compared to how they practice the deen is like east and west. And if one of them was alive and he saw the Muslims today, he would say, what? Who are these people? All right? It is not an absolute statement. And alhamdulillah, no matter what is going on, and no matter what is happening, there's still many ways to prove that Islam is strong. And the Muslims are strong in many parts of the world, even with all of the problems that you have. And the division and the separation and the kufr and shirk and innovation and the kuffar taking over the lands of the Muslims. Allah says they want to put out the light of Allah. Yuriduna an yutfi'u nur Allah. They want to put out Allah's light. And what does Allah Azza wa Jalla says? Wallahu mutimmu nurihi. Wa ya'ba Allahu illa an yutimma nurahu. Allah Azza wa Jalla will complete His light. No one can put it out. No one can put out the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these statements are not hadiths. Number one, if they were hadiths, they will be understood in the light. Those statements made from some of the Salaf are, it's meant to push the people from sin and from innovation and from being further from the organic orthodox teachings. But it doesn't mean that what we do of fasting and zakat and hajj is incorrect and wrong and they wouldn't recognize us. It doesn't mean that. Nor does it mean that the clothing of the Muslims today, the clothing which is associated with the Muslims, the different cultures, isn't clothing of the Muslims. It doesn't mean that. Wallahu alam.
Germany, Berlin. Assalamu alaikum mufti. Is the hadith about Ayatul Kursi Hassan that if it is recited after every Fard prayer, only death is between me and Jannah?
Question comes from Berlin once more. With regards to the hadith about reciting Ayatul Kursi after every salah, and how if a person dies, nothing will prevent him from going to Jannah except for the death. Is that a Hasan hadith? It's a well-known hadith, and some of the ulama of Islam declare it to be authentic. Some of them declare it to be authentic. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Nothing wrong with reciting it after the salah, along with the other authentic supplications, making the istighfar, the tasbih, Allahumma anta salam, whatever you wish to recite of the quls. There are many, many different ways and styles of making the legislative dhikr, adbar salawat al-khams, at the end of the 5 daily prayers. And from that is Ayatul Kursi. Wallahu alam.
MK, Sydney, Australia. Who are your 7 favorite Islamic authors?
Questions from Sydney, Australia. Who are your seven favorite Islamic scholars? I've never been asked that question before, so I don't have a ready-made answer, like many answers or many questions. Yani, there are many great scholars of Islam. We take and we learn from all of them. If I had to pick some of those who are my personal favorites off the top of my head, definitely Abdullah ibn Abbas, for sure. That's just one from among the Sahaba. There are many. From the Tabi'een, definitely Hassan al-Basri. If I had to pick one off the top of my head, for sure Hassan al-Basri. Definitely Imam Ahmad. For sure Imam al-Bukhari. For sure Imam Ibn Rajab. Ibn al-Qayyim. There's no question about that. How many are there so far? Those are 6 or 5? 2 more? Huh? That was 6. If I had to mention one more from my favorite Islamic scholars, Ibn Taymiyyah. Wallahu alam.
And Montreal, Canada. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah bless you. Is it permissible to short sell in the stock market?
Questions from Toronto?
Montreal, Canada.
Montreal. To short sale in the stock market. What is a short sale? Inshallah, if you could explain exactly what's meant by that term, I'm unfamiliar with a short sale in the stock market. A house buying a house? In the stock market. I'm unfamiliar with the term short sale. If you send us further detail on what that is, We'll be gladly to give you our humble opinion. At the end of the day, stocks, bonds, the stock market, so on and so forth. So that's a discussion in itself. I would say that the Muslims have to have some type of involvement and dealings with these things. And if they don't, the Muslims will be even further left behind than what they already are. They'll be left behind even more. If the Muslims have no dealings in these financial things, which are a major part of the fabric of money today. So the concept of investments, the concept of 401k, the concept of owning, buying, all of these things, there are many things which are clearly problematic. Even if it isn't riba. Buying, selling something that you don't own, second, third person, all types of dealings which are non-compliant, Sharia-wise. Okay? And there are things, of course, with regards to buying and selling, lending, renting, with regards to making profit, making much more than what you've invested in these things, which are clearly permissible. The market today and the system today, of course, is mixed. It's all mixed. You have a debit card in a bank. The bank is full of riba, nourished on riba. But a Muslim says, I'm not taking riba. This is my money that I spend it responsibly. It's a safe place to put my money, and it's a convenient place for my money, so on and so forth. If the Muslims have no involvement in these things, there lies no doubt there'll be many harms upon the Muslims. So fear Allah the best way you know how. If it's something that you have to do, if it's something which is very important, then that's one thing. If you have another alternative, and of course, al-wara'u tarquhu, then that's a different story. Wa alaikum assalam.
NH, Toronto, Canada. Assalamu alaikum Mufti. You didn't answer the second part of the question I had. I was wondering, since I am not able to wake up for the Hajj, is Salatul Hajj authentic enough for me to do?
Question from Toronto. If I don't wake up for tahajjud, is Salatul Hajj authentic enough for me to do? It's not that we ignored the question. We spoke about this before. We'll say again. Salatul Hajj is not necessarily authentic. It's not necessarily authentic. And there are other things that are clearly authentic that you can do. And keep things easy and simple. If you can't wake up, then pray before you go to sleep. Even if you made 1 rak'ah, 3 rak'ah, do whatever you can before you go to sleep. Fadlullahi wasi'. Allah's bounty is ever expanding and outreaching and outstretching. There's so much to do. If you can't do one thing, give sadaqah. You don't pray at night, give charity in the daytime. Fast. There's so much to do. So much to do. That is clearly authentically proven. Wallahu a'lam.
H from Bay Area, California. Salamun alaikum. Salamun alaikum. May Allah bless you and HD group. What's the ruling on buying and selling t-shirts with pictures of humans on them? Jazakallahu khair.
Question comes from the Bay Area, California. With regards to buying and selling t-shirts that have pictures of humans upon them, they should be avoided if the humans are in full form and full figure. If the humans' faces are erased or blocked out, the neck being separated from the head. All right, that's one thing. As far as the face, the head, everything is there, it should be avoided. Let alone if the women are uncovered or if the men are dressed in a manner which is inappropriate. You should not buy it, you should not sell it, nor should you wear it. Wallahu alam.
MK, Sydney, Australia. How do we cope with narcissistic and control-freak parents, and can you possibly do a lecture on it in your lecture?
Repeat the question, please.
MK, Sydney, Australia. How do we cope with narcissistic and control-freak parents, and can you possibly do a lecture on it in the near future?
Questions from Sydney, Australia. How do we cope with control freaks or narcissist parents? And can you do a lecture on it in the future, etc.? May Allah bless you. Well, the term narcissist is a term that I feel that many people just lately started using in abundance. It's an old term. The condition is old, but people, they just start making it like a hot new term. Narcissist. He's a narcissist. This person's a narcissist. You're a narcissist. So on and so forth. And like many other terms and conditions, most people who use the term, they don't even know what it is. Or they don't know the depth of the term and the usage of the word. Or another problem, and this is the beauty of We talk about human behavior and psychology and disorders and issues. It's like a mirror. If you can see someone, that means what? They can see you. So it's easy to call someone a narcissist or call someone suffering from this problem, or you have this deficiency, and that's why you dress like that, and that's why you talk like that, and that's why you like this person, and that's why you eat this type of food, and so on and so forth. It's easy to say that. But what happens when they turn around and point the finger at you? So the person who's full of himself, who's arrogant, that person can say, well, you lack confidence. You suffer from low esteem. You suffer from this. You suffer from that. So when we point the finger and call our parents narcissistic or whatever the case may be, maybe we are suffering from something. Maybe we need help. Maybe we need to lecture about our own character. Does this deny that there are people in the world who are narcissists? Of course not. Does this negate the reality that many of us are control freaks? I have to do it my way. This exists. But just like they're suffering from something, you may be suffering from something. So oftentimes you need to evaluate yourself. What are you lacking in? And oftentimes what you're lacking in is an ingredient and a cause behind them being so narcissistic. And the narcissist is only going to go but so far to the point in which you allow them. Like any other type of bully or any other type of person which is extreme in the thing. They're only going to do but so much. So bidnillahi ta'ala, maybe you need to study counter narcissism. Counter narcissism. Alright? At the end of the day, the Quran gives us the cure to every sickness and every illness. Allah says, idfa' billati hi ahsanu sayyi'ah. Allah says, idfa' billati hi ahsan as-sayyi'ah. The bad thing, the nasty thing, the negative thing, repel it. Reflect it. Push it back. Billati hi ahsan. And that which is best, the best way. So someone wishes to be a control freak, or they want to be negative or this and that, refute them with that which is best. You don't always have to answer, or you don't always have to reply. You don't always have to fight back. Oftentimes people, they're not ready and they're not used to you saying, yeah, you're right. We're going to do it like this today and such and such. I agree. That's exactly what we're going to do. Sometimes they're not ready for that. And that's why oftentimes people, they clinch up, they become solid when they reach conflict. And that's not always the best way to do or the best way to go. Sometimes just be soft and easy. Someone grabs you, the first thing you do is you do what? You resist. That's not always the best thing to do. Let them grab you. And the moment that they grab you and lock their arms, they're in a state of what? In a state of weakness. Because they're ready for what? Resistance on your end. So you don't always have to what? Resist. Okay? So the softest things can never be shattered. A wise man once said, the softest things can never be shattered or broken. And someone who's a narcissist, he's expecting for there to be some type of resistance. Or the opposite. They're expecting things to go their way, 101%. And sometimes, in one way or another, you have to show them it can't go like this. But never argue with people, and never argue with your parents. That's one of the rules of wisdom, never to argue with people. Especially someone who's considered to be a narcissist, because 9 out of 10 times, they're not listening. Those who what? Need to be told, or those who know, seldom need to be told. And those who need to be told, seldom listen. And he said in ancient Japan, those who know seldomly need what? Need to be told. A reminder every now and then. And those who need to be told all the time, what? The 9 out of times they're not even going to listen to you. So don't argue with them. Don't fight with them. Whether you have to meet nastiness and ugliness with beauty, or whether you show them why their plan is wrong and flawed, but not through your words and arguing, but through action. You and your father differ on how to paint the wall. He says it has to be like this. Trust me, this is the coat, this is the primer. No problem. No problem. Tafadhal, Abby, you got it. Then he spends all the time and money, and then the thing starts peeling, or see, maybe he'll get the point. And maybe he won't get the point. Maybe you have to be patient. Maybe that's the fitna that Allah has placed upon you. Maybe that's the jihad that you have to make with regards to your parents. فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفْ. Don't say uff to them. What's important is don't argue with your parents. Be patient upon them. Repel that which is bad with that which is good. And inshallah ta'ala, you work on establishing your own as a grown person, being independent by yourself, so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to be what? Patient, because those are your parents. And also give them advice. Or maybe not give them advice, but have someone older give them advice. Because they're not going to listen to you. Or it's going to cause an argument, or they're going to accuse you of being disrespectful. And we have the famous, baseless hadith paradise is under the feet of mothers. And that's what they're going to use on you. You can't differ with me. I have to do it this way. The paint is going to be this color because paradise is under the feet of the mothers. So you can't really win. So you have to outwit them, outsmart them, and be kinder than they are. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best, and with him is all success. And inshallah, we'll try to do a lecture on narcissism in the future. I've been called a narcissist several times. Maybe I shouldn't be giving a lecture on it, huh? Self-centered what? Narcissist. That's what he called me, right? Abu Saeed? Allah musta'an.
And that Montreal, Canada. May Allah bless you. Is it permissible to pray a sunnah prayer 15 minutes before the adhan?
Hanad from Montreal, praying a sunnah prayer 15 minutes before the adhan. If it's just a normal sunnah prayer, that's one thing. But if it's a ratib, the prayers that pertain to Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, Fajr, do it after the adhan. Wallahu alam.
R.A., Richmond, California. Salam Muslim. I love you for the sake of Allah. What is the ruling after Jannah? Some people gather for 3 days after the death.
Questions from Richmond, California. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless you. Ahabbaka alladhi ahbabtani fihi. Ameen. May Allah, the one whom you love us for his sake, love you. Ameen. Thank you very much. What is the ruling on sitting around for 3 days after death, after the janazah? Mourning, is that the sunnah, so on and so forth? I don't know of any authentic sunnah practice that allows a person to sit around 3 days after death. We have the janazah, the prayer, the dua, making food for them, making dua for them, making the azah, your condolences, giving sadaqah, making dua. We have a widow mourning. Everyone understand this? 4 months and 10 days. Anything other than that, I don't know of to be authentic from the Prophet ﷺ sunnah. Once the janazah is over, you pray for your brother or your sister, you make dua for them. If you happen to remain in the city or the town for 3 more days to be with them, to help them out, to make food for them, to support them, la bas. But making a specific intention of remaining 3 days, and it's a 3-day mourning process, that has to be proven by an authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and if not, it's going to fall into bid'ah. Wallahu alam.
SM, Austell, Georgia. Does praying with pants that have holes in it on my thigh make the salat invalid? Fortiside.
And the question is from Georgia. What city again?
Austell.
Austell. Praying with pants that have holes in them. Does it make my prayer invalid? Okay. Praying with pants or jeans that have holes in them, does it make your prayer invalid? It depends. If I can see the skin of your thighs or your knees or whatever other part of your leg, then that's clearly problematic. As far as if it's a hole, you can't see a person's skin, it's covered by another part of the jean or the pocket or something, then that's one thing. That's one thing. But a hole in which I can see your leg, your flesh, then that's going to be problematic without a question. At the end of the day, whenever you pray, if you wear pants outside, as long as the pants aren't too tight, as long as the pants are loose, as long as the pants are above your ankles, it's permissible to wear pants. But it's best to pray with a thobe or an izar or a shalwar qamis, something like that is best. A long shirt. This is what the ulama of Islam say, is that you should not make prayer just in pants. Let alone pants that are tight, let alone pants that are snug, let alone pants that have holes in them. You just shouldn't do that. Period. Wallahu alam.
And Montreal, Canada. May Allah bless you. Is it valid? Is it valid if you forget to say this? Is it valid? Is wudu valid if you forget to say Bismillah?
Questions from Montreal, Canada. Is your wudu valid if you forget to say Bismillah? Bi'idhnillah, it's still valid. It's still valid. Most of the ulama say the same. Bismillah is recommended. And those who say that it is obligatory, many of them say tasqut, or it says wajibatun ma'al dhikr. It's obligatory if you remember. And if you don't remember, then it's okay. Wallahu alam.
And AB, Brooklyn, New York. Assalamu alaikum. What advice would you give an adult who says, I don't know if Islam is true, but I'm Muslim because I was born to Muslim parents?
Question comes from Brooklyn. What advice would you give to a Muslim who says, I don't know if Islam is the truth, but I'm a Muslim because I was born and raised Muslim. Make dua for them. Ask Allah to guide them, and be upfront and open with them. Warn them of apostasy, as Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالْإِيمَانِ فَقَدْ حَبِطَ عَمَلُهُ. He whoever rejects and makes kufr, he rejects his iman, relinquishes his faith, فَقَدْ حَبِطَ عَمَلُهُ. His deeds are null. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And then thereafter he'll be a loser. Warn them of the dangers of apostasy, the evils of apostasy. If you are having a hard time going through something, if you have some doubts, some unanswered questions, seek the cure. But do not make statements like that, and do not allow problems like that to fester. And how you were raised and born is not going to help you if you don't know and if you don't believe yourself. Wallahu alam. Abdul Wadud, tfaddal. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, so generally, how would you advise a Muslim trying to, I guess, get like a restart? Like someone coming to you emptying his cup completely and you filling it up with just trying to get him to be a general Muslim, topic, balancing out his affairs between dunya
And Deen.
and deen. How would you like?
What would you give them? Starter package.
Yeah, like HadithDisciple, you start a package for.
A starting package for someone who's trying to start anew. Totally emptying out the cup. I was doing this, I was born Muslim, I was keda, now I'm starting from the beginning. What would be your starter package? Good companionship. Having a good, strong Muslim homie. Someone that's a practicing Muslim, a proud Muslim. He doesn't have to be a superstar. He doesn't have to be no type of special student of knowledge, but a basic practicing Muslim that's proud to be a Muslim. And to befriend that person. Be kind to him. Don't be judgmental. Don't ask about his past, but be kind to him. Be there for him when he needs him or when he needs you. Don't be judgmental and just support him. And inshallah ta'ala, take him by the hand. Let's go to the mosque. I want you to meet there. I want you to meet my teacher. What are you praying Jumu'ah at today? Oh, word? All right, come check my man out here. That's it. Just be a good friend to him. And inshallah ta'ala, gently and step by step, progressively lead him to the way that you follow, that you feel is most correct. That's it. The books will come, dress code will come, beard will come, this, that, all of that will what? Will come. If he trusts you as a friend, if he loves you as a brother, as a friend, and if he respects you as a friend. Wallahu alam.
And then from Montreal, Canada, how should I advise a brother who says it's okay to take the more convenient view when there is khilaf?
Questions from Montreal. How do I advise a brother who says that it's okay to take the more convenient view if there's khilaf in an issue? No, that's not right. That's incorrect. And the proof that that's incorrect is the world and the worldly affairs. You look for something on Amazon. I'm looking for a thermos. A certain type of thermos with a certain amount of milliliters or liters in it, etc. Whatever the size may be. Is it best to buy the cheapest one? No, it's not. Is it best to buy the one that's Amazon's choice? No, it's not. You got to read the reviews yourself. You have to look at the pictures yourself. You have to read the specs yourself. You have to look at how many stars it got. 500 people bought this thermos. You have to look at what they said about it. It's not just about that which is most convenient. That which is most convenient, the cheapest one, is not always the best one. Rather, it may be major problems with the cheaper one. And it's worth it to spend a couple extra dollars or pounds or whatever your currency may be to get the better one. And everyone will agree with this. Cheaper is not always best. Rather, we say you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. And sometimes paying for something takes a little more effort or energy or whatever is needed. So just because it's a convenient issue or ruling doesn't mean it's the stronger. It doesn't mean that you should follow it. The only thing that you should do is ask the scholar who you trust and you respect and you feel has the strongest opinion in it, and follow that scholar. If it's an issue in which you're reading in a book, use your mind to the best of your ability. But just because it's most convenient doesn't mean it's permissible to take. nor does it mean it's haram to take. You may feel that this makes the most sense. And it is also the most convenient. So you have to use your mind to the best of your ability. And this is why some of the ulama of the past, they used to say, لا بد يوما ما أن يجتهد العامي ولا بد يوما ما للعالم أن يقلد أو كما قالوا. They said there has to come a day in which a layman person is an independent scholar. And there has to come a day in which a scholar is a blind follower. Meaning there are certain issues in which you have to think about it yourself. And use your brain yourself. And use the tools to the what? The best of the ability. Well, I'm not a scholar, but I did learn in the class that the hadith is equal with the Quran with regards to the rulings. So I read this scholar said this and this hadith, well, I'm going to go with that. And it's a time in which a scholar doesn't have time to research. A scholar doesn't have time to look into the books. And he may have to say, that's what Imam Ahmed said. It's life. Wallahu alam. Fadl. Fadl.
Hisham bin Sheikh, Barcelona, Spain. Is it allowed to do dhikr in congregation?
Question comes from Barcelona, Spain. Is it allowed to make dhikr in congregation? It depends on what you mean by dhikr in congregation. Sitting and reading the Quran together, teaching it, studying it, one thing. Learning, studying, and reading the hadiths, one thing. Reflecting on these things, one thing. Saying it in unison, everybody all together in one voice, don't do that. Everyone saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah all together, don't do that. Unless it is an issue on which there's some type of text regarding, such as the takbirat of the Eid, something like that. Wallahu alam. Ahmed.
I heard some people say that the only type of dhikr that you can make working the heart without saying it is that ilaha illallah. Is that like true?
The only type of dhikr that you can make in your heart without saying it,
Like you have to like pronounce it like just like say the word.
go back to the 5 minutes of fight that we did called the void. We mentioned Ibn Qayyim's kalam regarding the levels of dhikr. The dhikr with just the tongue, the dhikr with just the heart, the dhikr with the tongue and the heart. That's the most complete way.
Mariam Mohammed, Toronto, Canada. How should a Muslim sister dress meeting a potential husband for the first time? Reveal hair or not?
Question from Toronto. How should a sister approach a brother who she's meeting for the first time? Should she cover her hair or not? So on and so forth. It depends. How much you like the brother. It depends on how much you think is going to be a success. It depends on how interested he is in you. It depends. Look at it like fishing, right? You go deep sea fishing. You can't take a little what? Small, fishing rod. You have a big, powerful, smart fish that takes a lot of hoisting and hauling in, a great deal of patience to catch this type of fish. How bad do you what? Want that fish. And how bad does the fish not want to be caught and thrown upon the deck of your boat? So that's how you approach a situation. I don't know what's going to happen with this sister, but I really like her. I know that for sure. I like the way she looks. I like what I've heard about her. I like her character from what I've seen. So that's going to set the tone of how I engage her. The sister says, this brother could be a criminal. I don't know. He could be a munafiq. I don't know. But outwardly, what? I like him. And I'm very much interested in him, so I'm going to what? Make my attempt. So it depends on how bad you want it. It depends on what you feel is good for you with regards to this brother. All right? It depends. It depends on how much competition is out there. This is a reality. It may be a brother in Toronto that what? Everybody's after. And if he comes to you and you come in fully garbed up, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? Ask Aqidah questions. Have you read Sharh Sunnah, Kashf Shubuhat, conditions of this, that? He may say, Assalamu alaikum, you know, it's 20 sisters waiting for me to sit down with them. You have to be what? It's a competitive spirit. It depends on the what? On the situation. If you're shy, that's one thing. If you're not so shy, that's what? It's another thing. Your madhab, your culture, so on and so forth. If you're not too sure about it, you're not absolutely 100% confident about it, then use precaution. Take your time. Don't go into it too fast, all at once. But if you say, look, this is the only shot that I got, and I have to impress him. I want him to see the beauty of my akhlaq and the what? The beauty of my khalq, how Allah created me. It depends on the situation, huh? Wallahu alam. Make istikhara, seek counsel. It's not going to hurt you not to do it on the first time. If he's made for you, he'll be made for you. And if not, it's not meant for you to be. Or it's not meant to be for you. What's important is do what you feel comfortable. Don't allow no one to pressure you into doing something that you don't feel comfortable with. And of course, be mindful of showing someone who's a stranger your body, your hair. That's not necessarily a recommended thing. But like I said, the brother may not be a stranger. Wallahu alam.
AIM, Alexandria, Virginia. What do we say behind the Imam when he's leading us in Salah? After reciting Fatiha and another surah, what do we do? Do we recite another surah after?
Question from Alexandria, Virginia. Regarding reciting behind the Imam. What should we say behind the Imam when he's reciting Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah, etc.? If it was me, I would tell you not to recite anything and let the Imam's recitation suffice you. The third rak'ah and the fourth rak'ah, recite the Fatiha. First and second rak'ah of Maghrib, first and second rak'ah of Isha, don't do anything but listen to the Imam's recitation. Wallahu alam.
AA, Miami, Florida. Does ghusl have to be done in the prophetic order to be valid? If one takes a shower, washes nose and mouth without following the specific ordering of the prophet, is it valid?
Where's it from again?
Miami, Florida.
Questions from Miami. Does the ghusl have to be made in the prophetic manner? Starting with this part, this time, right, left, so on and so forth. Or can a person wash up, make ghusl, put the water in their mouth and the nose? Yes, that's permissible. And it does not have to be done in the prophetic order. That's the recommended way of making ghusl. The recommended way, and it is not obligatory. As long as your whole entire body is wet, and according to many scholars, the mouth and the nose gets the water, al-madmada wal-istinshaq, then the ghusl is valid. Wallahu alam.
AY, West London, Assalamu alaikum. What are from the best ways to tackle and slay doubts about seeking knowledge to a scholarly level? May you meet Allah. Please, Ameen.
Repeat the question again.
AY, West London, Assalamu alaikum. What are from the best ways to tackle and slay doubts about seeking knowledge to a scholarly level? May you meet Allah, please, Ameen.
Questions from West London. What's the best way, or some of the best ways to slay the doubts about seeking knowledge in a scholarly level, right? Like how to talk to someone who's a naysayer or skeptic about seeking ilm on a high level. May you meet Allah and He be pleased with you. Ameen. You as well. Jazakallahu khairan. If you have to fight with someone to show them and prove to them the importance and the virtue of seeking knowledge, any knowledge, let alone knowledge of Allah and His Messenger, then I think and I fear that you're going to be wasting your time. If it has to be on a scholarly level, a level of scholastic debate, and you have to beat someone up, put on boxing gloves and pound their face to get them to understand why it is important, virtuous, and obligatory for certain Muslims, not all, to have a high level of ilm, of the deen and of the sharia and of Allah's names and attributes, then I feel that your efforts will be in vain. I feel that you're wasting your time and your effort in which you have to struggle and fight with someone. Someone may say, I don't want my son to go overseas and seek knowledge. You shouldn't go overseas and seek knowledge. In this community, we need this, we need that. But for a Muslim, or even a non-Muslim, to say that no one should go and seek knowledge, it's enough what we have, so on and so forth, I find that to be very problematic and oftentimes a great waste of your time. That's my personal opinion. And if you come from West London, then look at London. Look at the UK. Look at the influence of England on the world. It used to be the empire over which the sun never sets. And we ask that to be manifested with HD. Ameen. We ask Allah to make HD the what? The empire over which what? The sun never sets. In Berlin or Hong Kong or Istanbul, wherever the people are watching. Ameen. How did Britain become so powerful and so influential except through what? Knowledge. Knowledge that other people didn't have. And there are other ways, of course, but a major part of that is what? Is knowledge, is ilm. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is paramount. Who differs on this reality? Now, what type of knowledge it is a different story. But the sheer fact of what? Ilm. And that is a starting point. And then from there, if the person you're talking to is a Muslim, you go to the next level. How do you pray? How do you fast? How do you do this? What happens when you go into your grave? Doesn't everyone know La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah? And the munafiq knows it, but he won't be able to say it on the day of judgment. So if you have to fight with a person and slay a doubt on a scholarly level of knowledge, I feel that that's going to be a waste of time, energy, and effort. Wallahu alam.
Hanad, Montreal, Canada. Assalamu alaikum. Is it mandatory to wash your nose 3 times when making wudu when you wake up?
Question is from Montreal. Is it obligatory to wash your nose 3 times when making wudu when you wake up? No, it's not obligatory. When you make wudu, the only thing that's obligatory is once. And most of the ulama of Islam hold the view that you do not have to put water in your mouth and your nose. Most of the ulama. Most of the ulama hold the view, is to wash your faces is only zahirul wajh. And not put water in the mouth and the nose. Some of the ulama hold that view. Such as Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. Wallahu alam.
OA, Riyadh, KSA. May Allah bless you. What do you mean when you say a real student of knowledge? Are there fake students? What are their characteristics?
Question is from Riyadh. May Allah bless you. What do you mean when you say fake students of knowledge? Are there fake students of knowledge? And what are their characteristics? Of course, there are fake students of knowledge. You may be looking at one of them. Myself. It's reality. A real student of knowledge versus a fake student of knowledge is someone who devotes himself to ilm. It's someone who's serious. Someone who's dedicated. It's someone who's pious and righteous. It's not someone who has books and memorizes and studies and does differently. It's someone whose character is a manifestation of that ilm. It's someone who is hardcore, hammer and tongue on the anvil. Real. Not someone who seeks knowledge out of leisure or when he wants to or when it's convenient for him. Not someone who seeks knowledge for money, for fame, for women, for status. Not someone who seeks knowledge to argue with fools or debate with scholars or make his circles bigger. Someone who's an actual student of knowledge, not someone who just, Sheikh Fulan said, and Sheikh Alan said, and this scholar who's living, he said, and ignore the rich history of the Salaf al-Salih. And things like this, Things like this. Wallahu alam. May Allah help us all.
Can you remind people of the format?
Format, brothers and sisters, got to put your initials, then the city and state.
TA, UK, London. Does a child molester have to ask forgiveness from a victim, or can he be forgiven directly from Allah?
And it's from where again?
TA, London, UK.
Questions from London. Does a child molester have to ask the forgiveness of the one whom he or she molested, or the family, or can they be forgiven directly from Allah and only from Allah? The general rule is that if you wrong someone and you oppress someone, then not only do you repent to Allah with the conditions of repentance, but you seek the pardon and the forgiveness of those whom you have wronged, and you return them their haqq. You return them the right. Obviously, that's only pertaining to something tangible. You stole it from them. Give it back. And if you can't find them, give it in charity. As far as molesting someone, taking someone's virginity, slandering someone, something that you can't give back, you try your best to apologize. Try your best to explain that you were wrong and you were misguided. I'm sorry. Is there anything that I can do? Is there any help? Is there any reparation that I can pay? To the best of your ability. And if the people that you wronged, they don't want to hear anything from you, or they're cursing you, or they want to kill you, or it's a danger to your security, then you move forward. Move forward with your life. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Or you may not know who they are. They may not be around. Ask Allah to forgive you and move forward with your life, and make sure that you don't go back to that. And make sure you stay far away from it. And you make sure that you try your hardest to continue in the process of therapy. To continue in the process of therapy, where scholars of certain human behaviors and addictions and abuses of substances, they say that one who is going to be a recovering addict or recovering victim must continue the therapy. Must continue the therapy. And it's not something that is just done once and then you forget about it, but it's something which is constant. Wallahu alam.
AA, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible to settle a debt between two parties by competing against the other in a sports competition, where the one who doesn't have where the one who doesn't have to pay back the debt, where the one who owes doesn't have to pay back the debt if they win, or is it considered gambling?
Tight. Repeat the question again.
AA Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible to settle a debt between two parties by competing against the other in a sports competition, where the one who owes doesn't have to pay back the debt if they win, or is it considered gambling?
Tight. The questions from Philly with regards to, is it permissible to settle a debt between two people in a sports competition, and the one who loses will agree that he doesn't have to pay back the debt or repay the debt or the favor, etc., or is this considered gambling? This should not be done. Period. This should be avoided, and I fear that this will be a means of gambling. Either you pay back what you owe, or the person relinquishes the debt, says no problem. You don't have to pay me back, or pay me back in 10 years. But to settle it in a sports competition, I don't advise with that at all, and I fear that that would be included in gambling. Wallahu alam.
R.A. Richmond, California. Salam Mufti. Any suggestions on finding a wife? May Allah bless you with another wife. Say Ameen.
I mean,
Richmond, Virginia?
Richmond, California.
California. Any suggestions on finding a wife? And may Allah bless you with another wife and say Ameen. Go back to the lecture that we did called Marriage in Light of the Book and the Sunnah, in which we talked about the etiquettes of looking for a wife, and or the etiquettes of a wife, or the etiquette. Etiquettes in English does not have a plural. It's a very common mistake and misquote. Etiquette. There's no such thing as etiquettes. They say the etiquettes of the student of knowledge is wrong. The etiquette. Etiquette is always singular. Plural meaning, but singular wording. The etiquette of a wife finding you. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Go back to that lecture series. What's important is, like I just gave the brother advice, the brother who came from Berlin, right? He's 25, he felt out of uni, so on and so forth. Get yourself together. And getting yourself together doesn't mean that you have to be a millionaire. It doesn't mean you have to have the strongest body or the most handsome face. It doesn't mean that. But I have basic necessities. I have a daughter. She's 19 years old. She's beautiful, mashallah. Inwardly and outwardly. I raised her. I nurtured her. I taught her. She wants to get married. What can you do for my daughter right now? My daughter doesn't want a yacht. She doesn't want a Lamborghini. But she has to have somewhere to stay at night. She has to have food to eat. She has to have basic transportation. When it's cold outside, will she shiver? When it's hot outside, will she sweat? What can you do for my daughter right now? Basically, if you tell me that, you can have my daughter. What would you say if a brother came to you like that in the masjid? Well, I'm living with my mom right now. You know, I go to some classes. And you know, I want to go overseas in Medina and be a student of knowledge. It's a problem. Get yourself together, okay? Look how you dress. Look at your shoes. Look at your clothes. Look at your hair. Look how you dress. You're not presentable. You don't look after yourself. I give you a hug. I don't smell no cologne. You shake my hand with a weak hand. This is a reality. Every single thing that comes about women, you laugh, you giggle, you joke. You have no business, no job, nothing. How you getting home? Oh, I'm getting on a train or the bus. And that's nothing shameful in that. There's nothing shameful in that in getting on a bus or a train. I've been on a train, I've been on a bus plenty of times. But I'm trying to make a point of basic things. If you're not seeking knowledge, if you're not doing this, then you should have some type of basic stability. And not just always begging and asking and not having anything and not having nothing going forward for you. That's the point I'm trying to make. So oftentimes brothers, they spend time and they spend effort and energy in looking for a sister, which is not a bad thing all the time. But sometimes that time, the effort and the energy, it needs to be spent on what? Getting yourself together. And it doesn't take what? Much. It doesn't take that much. Wallahu alam.
ST, Brooklyn, New York. A female was wearing a fragrance that smelled nice to me. It was a men's cologne, but it smelled like perfume to me. Is it permissible to wear it if it smells feminine to me?
Questions from Brooklyn? And I'm supposing it's a sister asking this question.
That's what I'm assuming.
Someone had on a fragrance that smelled like a woman's fragrance, but it was a man's fragrance. Is it permissible for me to wear? If it smells like a man's fragrance and it doesn't imitate that of a man, or that of the opposite sex, la bas. What's important is there's certain fragrances which smell really, really, really sweet and fruity. Men shouldn't wear. Certain fragrances that may be a woman's fragrance, or what? A woman shouldn't wear. So what's important is the nature of the fragrance, and the same applies to clothes. Certain clothes could be unisex, or how you wear it. Certain shoes you wear. This is actually a men's sneaker. It's a men's shoe, but they didn't have my size in the women, or they don't make this model in my size. As long as it's worn in a feminine way, la bas. Wallahu alam.
MF, Staten Island, New York. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Does the recommended 2 rakats before Fajr be prayed before/after Fajr comes in? May Allah give you long life. Ameen.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ameen. Allah give us long life upon good. Ameen. You as well. Question comes from the rugged isles of what? Staten Island. Tahir. With regards to making the 2 sunnahs of Salatul Fajr, right before or right after the adhan, before you make Fajr, is that the question?
Yeah.
As we said previously tonight, the prayers that are attached to the 5 daily prayers cannot be made until after the adhan. As soon as the adhan is made, you have 10 minutes before the iqamah, or you're praying by yourself, whatever, make them up. Salatul Fajr is permissible to make it after Salatul Fajr if you didn't have enough time before the Fajr prayer. Wallahu alam.
AB, Brooklyn, New York. Barakallahu fikum. At what point in your studies did you realize that the understanding/view of Islam promoted to you was incorrect?
Say the question again, please.
A-
View or understanding or the mode of Islam that was taught to you was incorrect. Barakallahu fiqh. Wa fiqh barakallah. I don't agree with the question 100%. That everything that I was taught was wrong and everything was incorrect. That's not true. That's not true. No, that's not true. Certain things, certain understandings, certain concepts, yes. Yes, for sure. I think that was like in my personal journey, that's a continuous thing. Even before I went overseas, there's certain things that you learn. Things that you were taught as a child. Things you were taught at your local mosque, or from this brother, or from your parents, or from your sisters. And of course, going overseas, going to Medina, to me, it was just constant elevation.
Natural progression.
It just keep, every day it's a different hadith, you just learn more and more. But of course, as if the person, Allah knows best, it seems if the questioner is asking about with regards to being Salafi. At what point did you realize that certain things were wrong? And as if the person means that, huh? Talib? As if that's what they're talking about. I think it's a very important point that we have to establish, and I want to say openly, is the people that I used to be friends with, students of, associates of, teachers of, buddies with, etc. It doesn't mean that we differ with them on every single thing. And it doesn't mean that everything that they say and do and call to is wrong. And it doesn't mean that every single thing that they say and do is false and is of no benefit. It doesn't mean that. If they say that about us and feel that about us now, that's fine. But we don't believe that about them. Do we differ with them? Certain things we believe to be totally wrong, erroneous, aslan, totally wrong. Not, oh, they're too harsh, or no. This principle, this rule in itself is batil. That you have to do this, and you have to go back to this, and you have to say this, and you have to la abadan. But not every single thing. And there are many things, walillah alhamd, that we still do, still promote, still teach, still call to this day. Let's make a simple example of this without mentioning any names. We all know what happened with this brother, that brother, he used to be, blah, blah, blah. We know that. You look at certain brothers today, whether they call it maturity or development or whatever it is, they are very different. And from that is how people dress. You find someone that was with this group, they were with these people, mainstream, whatever, they got refuted, talked about, kicked out, blah, 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 or they quit, they left, whatever. You see them now, they may have on a suit and a tie. They may have on a suit and a tie. Is it haram to wear a suit and a tie? I'm not saying that. But I'm trying to prove a point. Is that oftentimes they relinquish everything or a lot of things that they what? Used to be upon. And that's not the case what? With us. And this is one of the reasons, in my humble opinion, one of the reasons, not the only reason why they hate it so much, and have so much envy and they talk about us and attack us so much is because to the naked eye, we what? We look just like them. And we calling this book and teaching this book and saying this and quoting that. So they have to warn extra hard, don't be deceived. He wears the cloak of Salafiyah, but he's not a Salafi. And the point behind me saying this is to show you that all of those values and things we don't what? Differ on. But certain things we do. You have to wear a thobe. No. But that's what I choose to wear on a daily basis. You understand what I'm saying to you? If you don't have your pants at the middle of your shin, you're an innovator. And you're you're a deviant. We won't say that. But my pants, my thobe is what? Always at the middle of my shin. Well, alhamdulillah. But that doesn't mean that I believe that point that a person is a deviant if they don't. Because most of the ulama hold the opposite view, even though we feel differently. So the point is, everything that we were taught about Islam or about this or that, it doesn't mean that nowadays we what? Nah. So that we need to get rid of that. And this is a reality. Many brothers, whether they're burnouts, whatever you want to call them, they've done that. A brother back in the day that was gung-ho. You see him now, 15 years later, 20 years later, wearing skinny jeans. Talking crazy, like, what happened? He burnt out. Alhamdulillah, I say this being grateful to Allah, that's not me. Walillah, many other people aren't like that. In which they don't want to be associated with anything pertaining to the way of the Salaf. And ilm and hadith and ulama. No, that's not us. Walillah alhamd. The way of the sword is what? Straight and what? True. That's what he said. The way of the sword is what? Straight and true. Period. But do I say this? Am I friends with this person? Do I agree with this on every single point? Not necessarily. So that happened. As I said, that was a constant process. And if you wanted a specific shatter point or boiling point, then it really started happening on a heavy scale the first year when I came back from Medina in 2003. In 2003. That's when many eye openers started coming. But it still wasn't the main. When I went back to school, probably my third year of college, when I was about to graduate, there was another major leap. And of course, even to this day, you just what? Keep leaping. Last thing I'm going to say is, even though I previously said some of it, is that we are not upon any evolving theories when it comes to the core principles of the deen. The ijma', consensus, the core principles of the deen, of the aqeedah, of the ibadah, which is clear textual proof. There is no evolving theories. You don't evolve from ijma'. You don't evolve from the text that's crystal clear, solid, concrete. Ijtihad, different story. Ikhtilaf, different story. There's no proof at all, that's what? Different story. The flexibility of the time, of the place, the United States, this and that, different story. But the hardcore issues, you don't ever what? Abadan. That remains the same. And that's why we say learn the form, but seek the formless. The form is the ijma'. The form is the usul al-muttafaq alayha. Al-usul al-mansus alayha. The textual evidence for this principle. You can't say this. You have to say this. So on and so forth. That's the form. But seek the formless. The things in which there is no text. And you don't have to do it this way. I want to do it like that. It's a different story. So it's very important for us not to become burnouts and not to go extreme and not allow no one to push you away from the correct way, which is what? Straight and true. The way of the sword, as we say, quote unquote. Everyone understand this? Wallahu alam.
UW London, UK.
Fadal. Fadal.
UW London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible for me to have car insurance in my name as it's cheaper, but it's for someone else? Would this be classified as fraud?
This will be our cutoff point tonight. It's time for the adhan and Salat al-Isha. Please be kind enough to post this question the next time we do the Q&A. Hopefully tomorrow night, inshallah. Wa sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad. Inshallah tomorrow night.